States, Canada, and Tokyo, Japan. This is the Rich Stevens Radio Network.
All right, here we go. Dig it in. It's a Monday morning, the 18th of November, 2019. Hope you're doing well. Hi, I'm Rich Stevens. Here's where we are today. Coastal flood alerts from Florida to New England. Michael Bloomberg is apologizing for stop and frisk policy. A bus crashes into a semi-truck in Virginia. Tons of people, actually I shouldn't say tons, but dozens injured. Ford v. Ferrari, number one at the box office, brought in over $31 million over the weekend. And another mass shooting. This one happened last night in California. 4 people were shot to death. 6 were wounded. This is in Fresno, California. Police are calling this a mass shooting because, of course, there's more than 4 people that were shot, which classifies it as a mass shooting. It happened in the backyard of a house in the southeast part of the city. The police say that officers arrived on the scene and they found several individuals deceased in the backyard and multiple shooting victims lying all around. There's no info on the shooter at this hour or shooters. They say they have unknown suspects. They snuck into the backyard and just began shooting last night, and then they left the scene. So it's really scary because there were 2 people that were shot in Santa Clarita in a school shooting last week. 5 were shot to death in San Diego on Saturday. And now this. And please don't start telling me, oh, well, we need gun control. Gun control is not going to help this. This is not about gun control. This is about the fact that criminals have guns on the streets. And there's no knowledge. We don't know because you can't catch these people because they're criminals. And I'm all for the Second Amendment, as you know, but the people on the left that are screaming out for, better background checks and all this. And again, I find myself saying this over and over again. Background checks will only find something in your background if you've been caught doing something in your background. So if you have a squeaky clean record and they run a background check, guess what? You're able to buy the gun. And then besides buying the gun legally, you can still buy guns on the street if you know where to go for probably a couple $100, $300. Some even cheaper, depending on what city you're in or how desperate the person is to sell you a gun with the serial numbers filed off. There's an advisor for Vice President Mike Pence, and they said that Trump's July 25th phone call with the Ukrainian president was, quote, unusual and inappropriate. Her name is Jennifer Williams. She's a special advisor on Europe and Russia and different issues for the vice president. Apparently, we're just learning that she listened in on the phone call, too, as it was taking place. Now, she gave testimony earlier this month in a closed-door session, and they just, over the weekend, declassified it. So while discussing the call in front of Congress, she said, quote, that she found the specific references to be more specific to the president in nature, to his personal political agenda, rather than the broader foreign policy objective of the United States. My question is, let's be real here for a second. How many people were on this phone call? And we keep hearing about these people that were on the phone calls more and more, and it just, they come out of the woodwork. Now, this week, starting today, later on this morning, there's more open testimony in this hearing, which is, again, this will be the second week that they're doing this kind of stuff. And it's truly laughable at this point because nothing is being accomplished. It's typical that it reminds me, the hearings remind me of, what was his name? The Supreme Court Justice Gorsuch, I think it was, that just a year or so ago, or however long it was, had to sit on the same kind of hearing, and you had the Democrats trying to beat him up and the Republicans, trying to justify that he should get the nomination, get approval from the House. And that's what we're seeing here. It's a big circus. And it's going to continue. And on Saturday, they had another closed-door session. I can't remember the person's name, unfortunately. And I meant to write it down, but I forgot. Behind a closed-door session on Saturday. Why are we still having closed door sessions and we don't know anything that's going on behind the closed doors? And even if they declassify the transcript a couple months from now, I mean, come on, really? By the way, the president visited Walter Reed at the medical center on Saturday. This was part of his annual physical, and he said everything is good. Thank God. And this is part of the physical that comes 9 months after his last checkup, which was done in one visit. Now, his previous visits, this was not like the other ones before. This trip to the Army Medical Center was not announced beforehand. So the left is freaking out. Anything that they can do to try to knock this president down, it's unbelievable. So it wasn't announced beforehand, and everybody's thinking of something wrong, and there's all these conspiracy theories going around. This time he traveled by motorcade rather than flying in the Marine One helicopter, but the White House press secretary issued a statement saying there was nothing unusual about the visit. And she said, anticipating a very busy 2020, the president's taken advantage of a free weekend and wanted to begin portions of his routine annual physical at Walter Reed. And yet the Twitterverse is not buying into this stuff. They say if it's a routine visit, there are too many secrets around. So I'm not even going to go there, but I just have to tell you, there's so many different crazy conspiracy theories all over Twitter since Saturday afternoon when it was released that the president went to get part of his physical. I mean, what is the matter with people? And by the way, you know, while we're talking about the president, let's go back to the whistleblower for a second. The CIA. Now, this is not the Secret Service, this is not the FBI, but this is the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency. They have officially given the whistleblower, who still works on Ukraine, extra security, as friends reveal that the junior analyst feared the report he stayed late for 2 weeks to compile was going to be stifled, so he brought in an outside attorney. It took him 2 weeks to write 9 pages? That's how long it was, right? Now, 9 pages took 2 weeks. How smart is this person? And then he submitted it, obviously, on August 12th. And then 3 months later, that memo sits at the center of this House impeachment inquiry that threatens to take down Donald Trump's presidency, which is not going to happen. And meanwhile, this whistleblower has become the target of almost daily attacks by the president and his conservative allies trying to spread his name publicly. And he continues to work at CIA headquarters on projects concerning the Ukraine and Russia under heightened security. Now, the analyst has served on the National Security Council under the Trump administration, first learned of the phone call on July 26th when he was contacted by a highly, I'm doing the air quotes, by a highly agitated official at the White House. Let me remind you again, because this seems to have gone by the wayside. The whistleblower was not on this phone call. The whistleblower got a phone call by somebody at the White House on the staff that was agitated, highly agitated. So there was a memo justifying his recording of the call, and the analyst wrote that the official was shaken by what he heard transpired, and seemed keen to inform a trusted colleague. And, you know, this is almost like the Monica Lewinsky thing with the dress, with Butcher. I don't even remember that woman's name, but the official, who's not named in the memo, described the Trump call as crazy, frightening, and completely lacking in substance related to national security, and said he had already approached White House attorneys with concern that the president had clearly committed a criminal act. I mean, really, again, you know, some of the people that we saw last week, the woman that we saw, when was it, Friday? I think it was Friday. She wasn't on the call. She wasn't even employed by the government in July when this call took place. It was just her opinion. Adam Schiff asking her, what did you think about the... Who cares what she thinks? It's like turning CNN on. Who cares what these experts think? And they keep bringing on the payroll more and more of these idiots, and they truly are idiots, that are making a good salary to spread the crap, the lies that don't even make any sense. And by the way, some Democrats, including very big donors, are increasingly worried that they're still growing presidential field, some too far to the left, some too inexperienced, and some just too tied to the past. They don't have what it takes to beat President Donald Trump. I'm glad they're finally waking up and realizing this. Now, the former Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick jumped in last week. Michael Bloomberg still thinking about doing the same. We know he's going to jump in. And with the late entries only serving to highlight the perceived weaknesses of these, the ones that have been in the race all along, even the former president, Barack Obama, addressed the issue. And he cautioned progressives, saying that the country is, quote, less revolutionary than it's interested in improvement, than it is interested in improvement. And I'm still hearing those strong rumors about Hillary Clinton not dropping it. I guess jumping in is, she should only drop in. That she's going to throw her hat in the ring again and totally upset the whole bunch of them. This next debate, which I believe is coming up, is it this week or next week? I can't remember, but it's going to be probably one of the most interesting ones because it's it's just, we've whittled some away. Kamala Harris needs to step out. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Tom Steyer needs to step out. Nobody even knows who he is. This is a guy that's a billionaire that has zero experience, only a businessman. Not to say that Donald Trump didn't, have the same qualifications. He didn't know anything, but he was involved in things worldwide and relationships. Tom Steyer's got none of that, except he's got billions of dollars. So he can throw down so much money trying to buy the election, as I've said so many times. And I'm seeing commercials like every 15 minutes. It's incredible. By the way, speaking of the left and money, this is going to make you sick. Al Sharpton, the Reverend Al Sharpton. You ready? He was paid more than $1 million by his own charity last year. How is this even possible? And he gets away with it. And he claims he's worth it because he works 6 days a week. Last year, 2018, he was paid $1.04 million by his own nonprofit organization, the National Action Network, according to tax records. The New York Post got a hold of these. And this included a $160,000 bonus, as well as $564,000 in so-called other compensation. And Sharpton told the Post that the $564,000 sum, that's $500,000, was back pay that he was owed by his charity. I mean, how is this even possible? And this guy gets away with it. He still hasn't paid his back taxes that he owed. Now, he defended this huge paycheck, claiming CEOs of other nonprofit organizations make similar amounts of money, but that's not you. And Sharpton, who's been described as being an aficionado of Hermes ties, reportedly owes more than $500,000 in unpaid taxes still to this date. Last year, he sold the rights. Get this one. This is going to make you even more nauseous. Last year, he sold the rights to his life story. Who wants to know about his life story? But he got more than $500,000 for that. I mean, that's just really incredible. And in the life story, we're going to talk about Tawana Brawley? Come on, Rev. Let's not forget the past. That's very important. There was a couple teachers, or in this case, professors. I guess it's kind of like the same thing. Is there a difference between a teacher and a professor? In Arkansas, and they were chemistry professors. And I don't know if you've seen Breaking Bad, but they really jumped on the Breaking Bad bandwagon, which is not a good thing. They were charged on Friday making meth, like Bryan Cranston's chemistry professor character in the AMC series, but Walter White never got caught. Now, according to the Sheriff's Department, a 45-year-old teacher and a 40-year-old professor, both professors, they were charged with using drug paraphernalia and manufacturing methamphetamine. They're both associate professors of chemistry at Henderson State University, which is a liberal arts college in Arkadelphia. It's about 70 miles from Little Rock. Has about 3,500 students. And you gotta, it's the same stuff over and over again that seems to happen. How is it possible that people can be so literally dumb and do this kind of stuff? It's like all these people that are involved in the Me Too movement. I mean, the men that are being accused of touching and feeling and saying inappropriate things, and they're still doing it after all we've seen and been through. The whole thing with Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein, and he's talking, he says, I don't remember this, taking this photograph. And that's very possible because it was a long time ago. And now he's saying it could have been Photoshopped, it could have been doctored. We don't know if this is real. Well, somebody ought to take that photograph to the FBI. The FBI can figure out very, very easily if the picture has been photoshopped or if it's an original picture. And then if it's an original picture, then they should get him back in and interview him again and say, hey, what the hell are you thinking? Because he was actually hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein after he was already convicted and put on the sex offender registry. That's what he's apologizing for. And he had to come forward. You know what I feel bad for? I feel bad for the Queen. Because this is, puts a really dark stain over the royal family. It's just, it's pretty interesting the way things that people once were able to get away with, you can't do these things anymore. And this covers a vast majority of different activities in everyday life. Did you ever drop your phone and crack the screen? There's a new study that says 1 in 3 Americans right now have a crack on their phone screen. They talked about 2,000 people. This is all in the United States. They found that over half of those, 52%, admit they're always worried about the safety of their phone. In fact, the average American has 6 heart attack moments every single week where they start to drop their phone but save it just in time. Now, this survey was conducted by OnePoll on behalf of a company called Phone Loops. They found the average American that they talked to drops their phone on the ground 4 times every week, and over a third say they actually drop it even more than that. I know what that heart attack moment is. That's happened to me numerous times. My iPhone 11 Max Pro or Pro Max, whatever it is, which is the top-of-the-line iPhone that just came out a couple months ago, it fell out of my hand the second day I had it. And your heart really drops. And thank God I'm smart enough to buy the coverage, the Apple Protection Plan, so God forbid the glass does break, I can go get it fixed. But it's still like, oh my God. I'll never forget a few years ago when I fell down 2 flights of steps, concrete steps. My phone was in my hand. It went flying. And doctors don't even know what happened. Like I had a second pass out or something, which made me fall. And you're like, I remember trying to reach out for the bars on the staircase to grab on. Everything happens in slow motion. But anyway, I had an iPhone, of course, and I paid $26 for one of those glass protection screens, and I had what they called the OtterBox case on it. When I was finally able to pick myself off the ground after hitting my head on the concrete, just talking about this reminds me how bad it was. I was beat up bad. I mean, it was terrible. But anyway, so I went to grab the phone because I was going to dial 911 before I walked into the house. I was trying to do it, but the screen protector, the glass broke on the screen protector. And for that moment, I said, oh, thank God I got the glass protector on it. So what I did is I peeled the thing off, and that's supposed to break, which is what's supposed to happen. It did break. What's not supposed to happen, the way they sell this to you, is the glass underneath is not supposed to break. But guess what? That was broken too. So that $26 that I paid for that stupid film, that what they call glass on the phone, it was a joke. It was a total waste of money. They say that nearly 2 in 3 Americans, which is 61%, say they've cracked their phone screen, or worse, the very first time they ever dropped it. 1 in 3 unlucky Americans, which is 33%, have even dropped their phones in the toilet. You ever drop your phone in the toilet? How do you drop a phone in the toilet? And you see, here's the thing. This is no small business here. Americans rely on their phones so much that 76% say they'd be completely lost if their phone suddenly stopped working. I would. And a lot of people are willing to do all kinds of things to protect their phones. Half of those surveys say they'd sacrifice their own body if it meant their phone would be free from harm. And go one step further, the average American says that they'd happily pay upwards of $500 if it meant they'd never drop their phone again. But they put together a list of the 10 most unfortunate places Americans have dropped their phones. And these are in no particular order. A sewer, a bar bathroom floor, a hospital bathroom, a porta potty, a pot of rice, a bowl of soup, the dog's water bowl, a dumpster, a beer cup, and finally a trash can. And I got to tell you, you look at those, you listen to those, and how do people drop a phone into a beer cup or even a dumpster? Have you had LASIK eye surgery? There's somebody that used to work for the FDA. He's an advisor for the FDA, and he says LASIK eye surgery should be taken off the market. There's one optometrist that says he's treated thousands of patients and they had LASIK complications. That's not good. I used to know somebody that had complications from this. This is a retired FDA advisor who voted to approve LASIK, now says that the vote was a mistake. He says they underestimated the number of complications from the surgery, and he thinks LASIK should absolutely, positively be taken off the market. I tell you, twice in my radio career, I was offered from a client coming to the radio station if I wanted to get LASIK surgery to, promote their product. And I got to tell you, I said no twice because it actually scared the hell out of me. The thought of what they're doing, they remove the outer layer and then they're doing whatever the snipping is on the inside to improve your vision. Now, I'd love to have better vision. There's no doubt about it. But I wouldn't want to risk, something, God forbid, going wrong. And this guy is saying, get it off the market. So we'll see what the FDA does if they do anything at all. Taking that off the market is like taking out an entire industry, which it's been built up to now. And you hear these commercials for these LASIK technology that say something to the effect of $299 each eye. These are your eyes. And people, do you actually believe for $299 per eye that you can get decent LASIK surgery? It's kind of like going to the dentist. If you see these commercials on TV, I can't remember the guy's name, but there's a dentist that says that they will do implants for $199. How could you get implants for $199? And other places are doing the same thing for thousands of dollars. This is your head. This is your head that implants are being drilled into. It's kind of like the teeth in one day kind of stuff. There's no such thing. They could make the molds in one day, but I'm not making the teeth in one day. Yes, you'll walk out with those temporary crowns or teeth or whatever you want to call it. But, let's call a spade a spade. They should be required to tell the truth. Truth in advertising. Whatever happened to that? It's kind of like, I'll tell you another thing that bothers me. Remember a few years ago, and this probably goes back 6, 7, 8 years ago or so, that the Florida House of Representatives said that they are eliminating all these companies that say buy now and make no payments for 5 years. You know what I'm talking about. There's a few furniture places that do that. And they outlawed that. But somehow it snuck back in and they're doing it all over again. The way those things work, the way they get you on those is there's no interest, no payments for 5 years. You miss one payment after that, the interest goes back to day one, and it costs you if you were buying $10,000 worth of furniture, it costs you like 30, 40 grand because of the interest that's built up from day one. So they bank on you forgetting to make a payment, and that's how they make all the extra profit. You ever been to Chuck E. Cheese? They're about to go through some major changes. They're replacing their tokens with an all-you-can-play model so parents can simply load up a pass or wristband with time and allow kids to play as many games as they want during that period. Now, they're also getting rid of their famous animatronic band in favor of a centralized dance floor where kids' feet light up the floor as they move around. I guess that's like Saturday Night Fever. By the end of the year, about 100 locations in the U.S. are going to have been remodeled with all the new changes. And speaking of changes, Dunkin', they say they're going to stop using styrofoam cups. So first the straws went away, now the cups. Now the new cups are lined with plastic on the inside and can keep coffee warm without burning your hands. And the switch to the new cups is expected to be completed by April of next year. And Starbucks, their open bathroom policy is leading to a decline in the number of customers going in to the Starbucks locations. They did this back in May 2018 in an effort to allow all customers who come in to feel welcome after these two black men were arrested at a location in Philly while they were waiting for a friend. And through their research, they found that since opening its bathroom doors to the public, there's been a 7% drop in store attendance per month, which is relative to other coffee shops nearby. I tell you, this world that we live in today, there's more than one problem that we have to deal with. And problems, robocalls. There's laws in place about robocalls. They're illegal unless you've done business with a company before. But right now, they're at record high levels in the United States. The good news is hundreds of tech startups are developing new ways to tackle this problem. On average, Americans get more than 2,000 robocalls every second in October, which is up 25% from the previous month. And there have been 49 billion robocalls so far this year alone. So Congress and state officials passed new robocall regulations a few months ago, and all four major U.S. phone carriers now offer some form of blocking or screening service to help with the issue. But they're still, they still got a long way to go. I have T-Mobile on my iPhone, and it's kind of cool when a call comes in, and it's a scam. The caller ID says scam likely, so you're not going to answer that phone call. The only problem is, I once answered one of those calls where I actually, I picked it up, I didn't say anything, and I heard the woman saying, Rich, and it was actually somebody from my insurance company calling. So I don't know if it's 100%, but I guess if it's important and you don't answer the phone, it says scam likely, that the call goes to voicemail, somebody will leave a message for you, or at least that's what we, can hope will happen. Hey, I got to get out of here. Thank you so much for listening to The Rich Stevens Show. I really do appreciate you so much. Check out the website, Rich Stevens Show, R-I-C-H, Stevens with a V, richstevenshow.com. And check out the blog, too, because there's some great stuff on there every single day, updated throughout the day. Oh, and by the way, you could read about my weight loss stuff. I'll tell you more about that tomorrow. Have a great Monday. I hope you're staying warm. Not exactly a beach day. It's in the 50s right now, but it's going to warm up throughout the day. Not much, but it will. All right, I love it. How about you? Have a great day.